Kamshilakwan, Halito, which is greetings in Kalapuya, and Choctaw, which I am. Welcome to DiversiTV, the weekly interview show broadcast on Lane TV channel. I'm Mark Harris, your host. I'll be introducing tonight's guest. DiversiTV has been going for 11 seasons now, which each season roughly corresponds to an LCC term. So we've been going for nearly 4 years. And our mission, and we do decide to accept it, is to illuminate everyday diversity issues and give the mic and the camera to those who don't always get it. And to that end, we usually start our each season, because we're on Turtle Island, with a Native person. And tonight we have a guest who I met recently at a First Friday Communities of Color. Mi-Cree-Ni is a Native American flute player, American Indian flute player. This is from his website, Nakatoshaj. He makes and plays authentic American Indian flutes since 1959 here in Eugene. Also provides music for healing and transition services. He's available by appointment, and the website is nakatoshaj.net. And welcome, Mi-Cree-Ni.
I'm honored to be here, Mark. Thank you very much. Yaho, mitako yasen.
Welcome, relative.
You know, it's amazing to me. This is to be invited to this fire that never dies. It's a wonderful place. It's
The
a wonderful thing that we
fire,
can do.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, it's a light in the lodge that never dies.
If you want to give a shout out to all the Native, those in the Native community and the Native American education programs, you can do
Yeah. Good evening, my friends over there at Natives Programs at 4J School District, Bailey Hill Elementary, Jefferson. I don't want to forget anybody. The Arts Academy out to, I don't know, Roosevelt.
Jefferson, yeah, Roosevelt,
Jefferson,
yeah.
Roosevelt, all of the middle schools and some of the elementary schools. Edison, I haven't been there yet this year, but I'm waiting. And Marty, I'll get to you.
Lane ASD, Springfield, Bethel.
All of them. You know, that's what I put on my website. I keep trying to invite them and put that message out there that I'm here to volunteer and come perform and talk to their students in the classrooms, tell stories, and talk about my heritage.
So you're enrolled
Oh, yes.
in
Kickapoo tribe in Kansas, Kickapoo Nation in Kansas. There used to be a lot of us. There's only about 1,200 in Kickapoo now, enrolled Kickapoo now. There's 3 nations. There's in Oklahoma, and there's one that's getting federally recognized in Texas, and then there's one in Mexico.
So you are recognized.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. We're federally
So
recognized
was
tribe.
one terminated or something like that?
No, none of them have been terminated. But what happens is the people move, and areas like, well, in Texas, there's a place called Eagle. I think it's Eagle Pass, and there's a Kickapoo City in Texas, and there's a Kickapoo City in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and these places, they get assimilated.
Mm-hmm.
That word a lot of people don't understand. It's not acculturalized; they get assimilated,
Right.
and so people, they think, well, Kickapoo was just a label. It's just a name. There aren't really any Indians named Kickapoo.
Yeah.
Used to be Kickapoo Joy Juice on the soda pop.
Okay, you
and
went
Al
there. I didn't.
I approve of it, because without those labels and those names, then how are you going to remember who was doing what?
But it was a comic strip, and it wasn't a
So
term
what?
of respect.
Were we or were we not? You know,
Okay, yeah,
that's
okay.
the question. Were
Okay.
we or were we not?
Yes.
And what are we now? You know, because you have to have room to forgive.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't forgive, then we never grow. You look at the Indian schools, you know, the residential schools.
The boarding schools.
All of those.
Yes.
I was in a boarding school. I had my left hand tied behind my back, and when I spoke my native language, Shwendonwichi no samdam, and andam no samdak, in my morning when I would say my prayers and things like that, they would put a block of wood in my mouth, make me stop, hit me with a rubber hose, you know, and beat me because
For speaking your language.
for speaking my language. Because you're not supposed to say those nasty words.
Was this run by government?
It was run
Catholic
by
church?
Mormon
What?
church.
Mormons. Okay.
Mormon Church is the one that had it. I was at Riverside Indian School, Anadarko, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then from there, because I fought with them, okay, and I ran away, and then they sent me back, and I'm only 9 years old. You know, I'm going cross country, hitchhiking, 9 years old, all the way from Anadarko, Oklahoma, to Brown County, Kansas. You know,
you were headed back home.
Oh, I went home.
Yeah.
I went home and I stayed there. Then the government people came and got me from my grandfather's home, brought me back to school, sent me to Fort Sill. So I went to Fort Sill and I went to Chilocco.
Fort Sill in Kansas again?
No, it's in Oklahoma also.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's Fort Sill and then there's Chilocco, and I think Chilocco is in Kansas, but I'm not sure. Pretty young, you know, don't remember.
Where were you born?
I was born in Huron, Kansas.
Okay.
Little bitty nowhere town. There's nothing there now. I mean, Wilma had she used to sell bologna and bread.
Wilma Mankiller or Wilma Crow?
No, not either one of those.
Okay,
It's a woman that, it was Wilma's grocery store in Huron, Kansas.
Okay.
This is about 45 miles west of Atchison, Kansas.
Okay.
Alongside the grain elevator that's there now. That's about the only thing that's there now. They had an elementary school and this little grocery store. And Wilma, the owner of the grocery store, used to sell bologna and bread. And that was all that she had. That was the closest store to my birthplace. And I was birthed by my grandfather at home. He signed my my birth certificate. Yeah, I grew up on a reservation. A reservation Indian.
Yes, because you were talking earlier about the Indian pizza made from Kamad foods and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, we used to get that. Instead of food stamps, you know, we always had the commodities. And I miss that. You know, not that I miss being poor, okay, and not that I'm not poor now. You know, the kind of economic status goes with everybody else. You know, we're all out of work. But those commodities were a mainstay for our families. You know, we get the big block of cheese, and we get the flour in a 50-pound sack. You know, a flour sack, big 50-pound. You don't see those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Or salt. You know, staples. You know, and you get canned beef and canned pork and canned ham. And she used to take that, and she would make pepperoni, and she would make sausage from it, and make just like pizza you buy downtown. You know? In fact, she worked at a couple of restaurants in St. Joseph, Missouri, and made pizzas there. You know, and this is a woman that was in her 80s, you know, working out.
So let's move from physical sustenance to more spiritual, cultural sustenance. How did you come to play the flute and manufacture flutes? Who brought you to
Are you
that?
ready for this story?
I am ready for this story. Let's do some music first.
Okay. Now, this flute I made for this show today. So now you can see, this is a little duck. You see it?
Tilt it a little bit.
This way?
The other way. Yeah.
Oh, can you zoom in
There's
on his eyes?
Duckbill there.
Can you zoom in on his eyes right here? Right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe this way. That's better. You can almost see his eyes right here. He's got his eyes. He's singing loud. His eyes are closed like that.
So, cedar?
This is a cedar flute, yes. It's made from redwood cedar, western redwood cedar. And this is pipestone. It's black pipestone. It's kaolinite with, I think black is, it's not lead. Lead is white. Black, I think, is some kind of carbon.
Okay.
And this yellow is Osage orange.
Okay.
Okay. This will turn black with it's photosensitive. It'll turn black eventually. But I have no idea what key this is in. I don't measure the keys because these flutes that I make don't speak English. Indian people, we didn't know
scale. Right.
We didn't know about chromatic scales and diatonic tuning and pentatonic tuning. We have 6 holes, 7 tones, and we can talk about that more. But I'll play you some music. So, these flutes, how did I begin to learn? Well, I was given to my grandfather when I was about 5 years old. I always say it was for his long life that I was given to him. By best recollections, by my best calculations, by researching books in public libraries to find the family names, my grandfather was approximately 100 years old when I was given to him at 5.
Okay.
I lived the last 20 years of his life with him. So he was 120 when he died. There are records when he was arrested in 1929 for practicing sweat lodge on the Kickapoo Reservation, and he was approximately between 70 and 80 years old at that time.
To put that in context, it was illegal for Native Americans, American Indians, to practice their religion before 1978.
Yes. And it wasn't illegal before 1929. The reason is because this pipestone, okay?
Yeah.
Now we say pipestone, but pipestone is catlinite. And catlinite is formed from volcanic action all over the world. So you can find this stone everywhere. You can find this stone here in Oregon. And you can find red pipestone and white pipestone and yellow pipestone and purple pipestone and all colors. Green, some of it is precious metal, some precious stones, some of it's not. But what it's formed is from the minerals. They're superheated by the volcanic action into gas. And as that gas cools, it solidifies in the ash, which forms this clay and hardens with the mineral. And that's what creates the color. So this is pipestone. It is kaolinite, okay? And this is from Oregon. This has a little bit more, probably nickel, some kind of carbon in it, because it's green. Now, green serpentine is a stone that a lot of sculpture artists use, and it's serpentine, and it's created with nickel.
Yeah.
So
you have a duck in the cedar. What is the pattern that you have on the catlinite?
This is my signature. Now,
okay.
This is a single line language. Now, the first one was my grandfather's. Now, that was one line with that staghorn head on it, because he liked lemonade. Now, a lot of people don't know what staghorn sumac is and how to use it. But sumac, staghorn sumac, it makes like a head like Milo.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, when it's high humidity, it forms a kind of a foam on the outside of it. Well, you take that, harvest it, and put it in the cold water and swirl it around, and you've got lemonade. It tastes, it's high citrus content, high in vitamin C. It tastes really good. You don't put sugar with it, but it's really, you could, make it sweeter, but it doesn't need it. But he liked that, so that's why he used that as his logo, his signature.
So the first line of your signature is him.
Is my grandfather.
Okay.
He made that. Now, that's what he used on his flutes when he made them. When he was young, he made these flutes. Now, I say when he was young, when he was my age.
Yeah, right.
I'm a young man. Okay. The next one is my father's. Now, my father changed it. He used it 3. Because he did once for past, present, and future, because we are 3-pole people. This is you have teepees, and people don't know the difference between a 4-pole teepee and a 3-pole teepee, or how it's made. That's more
Too
folklore.
much information, more folklore.
More for another story.
Another time,
but he made his design out of that 3-pole people using the same staghorn. And I made mine out of these 4 because my name is Mi-Cree-Ni Quash-Ma, and it means he stands up to speak, or noble standing elk of the White Bear Clan.
Okay.
Now, you know the off color.
Right. Yes.
We won't talk about that one here. Okay, so that's what this signature is.
Okay.
And so I put 3 on there because it's like the antler. Okay? And it's also like the prairie grass. So staghorn prairie grass is what I call this.
Okay. What about the other flute that you brought?
This one?
Yes.
This is made from paduk and black walnut, and again, this black pipestone. I like this black pipestone. Now I've got green and yellow and what I call a wolf's eye which is it's kind of a speckled red and black and gold. And I use all kinds of different, but they're all stone. I make the headpieces out of stone. And all my flutes are equal spaced finger hole, seven tones, 6 holes.
What's the significance of that? Because as you pointed out before, the tempered scale, what we call in the West the tempered scale, which, you know,
Diatonic and
diatonic, pentatonic.
The significance of this is this: we have a paradigm that we believe. We have 7 sacred directions. It has nothing to do with north, south, east, or west. These 7 sacred directions are...
We meaning the Kickapoo?
Meaning my families.
Okay.
Now, I say,
right.
you say
okay.
Kickapoo, and then you have to go to the U.S. Cavalry to find out who we are.
Right.
Because
yeah.
I speak what my grandfather taught me. I speak what my father spoke to me as a child. I speak that language. Now, when I go to the reservation and I talk at the school on the reservation, on the Kickapoo reservation at home, they don't speak the same language, but they call it Kickapoo. Now, why is that? Well, it's part of that problem with Native American.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing that we're talking about. Why Native American? Everyone thinks Native American and you think Indian people. But, you know, if you're born on this continent, you're a native of this continent. So that makes you Native American. And I agree with you. And I've you know, the flag and all of that.
It's controversial.
It's
right?
controversial. But
yeah,
so
right.
when I say, you know, President Obama, he signed a law recently with honesty, or what is it, fair honesty in marketing. It's for Indian art and crafts.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, it's Indian art and craft law, and he signed it into law that you can't use that name, Native American or American Indian, unless you're enrolled. Now you can call your flute, a Native American style flute, because it's a qualifier.
Yes, right.
It's a qualifier. You can use a qualifying word to say this is a Native American style. But this is actually an American Indian flute, you know. 50 years from now, it will probably be an artifact. Why 7 hole? Why
Yes.
6
Why
hole, 7
6
tones?
Yes.
Okay, those 7 sacred directions, I'll tell you what they are. That which is before you, those things that you're going to do, that you intend to do, the good things that you want to do, that which you've already done, the things you've already accomplished, behind you. Your community side, the way that your community expects you to conduct yourself, those kinds of things. Then there's your heart side, your family side. This is like your community side, but it's more intimate, more blood relation, that kind of thing. That which is below you, the things that support you, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink, those kinds of things. That which is above you, those things that you aspire towards. You can see them and understand them, but you can't touch them. They may be intangible, but they're very real. All of these things together form a 7th direction, that which is within. These are the 7 sacred directions. Now the elders, when they made these flutes, they didn't assign a low tone like C or anything like that to that tone, to say this down here is C, so you play that tone and that's what you're saying. No, they didn't do that, because if they assigned names to this music, to this sound, that would cause people to strive. They would cause greed and fear, because this one can make this low tone and that one can't make the low tone, or this one can make a high tone and this one can't make. So then they competition and greed and fear. So they don't do that. It's open. Now, to learn to play the flute, it's a matter of muscle control. That's all.
Okay.
And breath.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you're holding this flute. Now, the reason it's shaped this way is so that you can put, you see how I've got it with my thumb and my little fingers?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got it. Now, I can hold it, and I can put my 6 fingers on here, and I can raise all 6 fingers up and play all those tones. And then your rhythm comes as easy as tapping your finger on a table. Okay? So we have... music.
Yeah.
They used these in the Indian Wars, the wars that you don't hear much about recorded in history. They used these after the war to heal, to draw people, to draw them back together, to begin again. In the adoption ceremonies, in the horsetail dance, in these ceremonies, they used these flutes that way. These flutes were used to ease pain, to ease grief, to cause joy, to celebrate. Music for healing and transition has been a part of my family forever. I can tell you the story of my grandfather and the robes and the wedding blankets. All of that story, all the way from 1841, when he was first recorded as a young man, and how he was sent to school at Yale. And he learned homeopathic medicine and naturopathic medicine. Came back to Brown County, practiced in a 4-county area with a little black bag and a wagon, a little wagon like his father practiced, Commodore Cat, who was a tinker. And the Indian woman would say, "Gemina be nakatosha." They would say that, and Indian men would laugh. It's kind of an off-color joke.
Yes, right.
But
it's on your on his website.
What the women were meaning is that they need somebody to come fix my pots and pans or my things.
Yes.
These things, I need him to fix them. Gemina be nakatosha. And that man that drove that one-horse wagon and carried that intricate toolkit and wore that funny hat, I want him to come. That's nakatosha. It's a pictorial language. It's what they're talking about. So that's what my grandfather used as his company name, Nakatosha, because he went around with a medicine bag and he ministered to people, and he played the flute, and he would, put people away when they had crossed over, and wrap their bodies, and that kind of thing. And birthing ceremonies, the joy of life.
All those transitions.
All those transitions, and weddings, and life cycle rituals. People don't think, rites of passage. It doesn't, in this sea of time that we live in, for the mind, you need a point to focus. If you don't have a point of focus, then you just continue day to day to day to day. And you need to have that I almost said it, but I'm not. But that diploma.
Yes.
You need to have that diploma, that rite of passage that says, you've studied enough. Now go to work.
Right. Well, yeah, the diploma, the sheepskin, the let's see, the.
You said it. I didn't say it.
Well, yeah. Right. The Sufi mystics who were basically dyed in the wool because they wore, these animal skins, which are usually, like John the Baptist.
Yeah.
Animal skins and dreadlocks and eating locusts and wild honey. That the person was definitely steeped in the spirit or in the way, in the life. So
locusts and wild honey.
Hey,
that sounds good. You ever eat locusts?
Once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It's all right. Crunchy.
Now what do you call locusts? Is that like the
grasshoppers?
Or grasshopper?
Yes. Right.
Okay, grasshoppers are in Kansas. Grasshoppers are this big.
Right.
And locust is this big, and he's shaped like a little kind of a V. And he makes a sound, Z's or Z, constant. Oh, yeah. Drive you nuts. But the grasshopper just, like that. So these kinds of sounds on here, when we play the flute, my grandfather and I used to play the flute in the timber, and we would draw animals to us. We used it to hunt with. And we only used like slingshot or stick, even for deer. Bring them over close. And then when he's there, you give him water, and then you ask for his life. Respectfully, with honor. No 5 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards away with a gun.
No, you're bringing them in close with the
right
flute.
here.
Yeah.
Right here. Right. Now, I'm asking you for your life so that I can, and I'll use everything about you into my body and into my spirit and into my family with honor. But now, people don't do that anymore.
Right.
It's the old way.
Not the same. Yeah, that's the old way. Old school.
Yeah. So, Native American, American Indian, 7 holes. It means the 7 sacred directions. And then in the lodge, when you're praying, when you sweat. All of this comes from that. The seven senses.
The flute used in the lodge?
Oh yeah. Music is very much a part of the lodge, and eating and drinking and not water, things that are good for you, all of that. Even that oyao, the steam inside of the lodge, this is created with different herbs for medicinal lodge, depending. But I hope people don't practice lodge without someone extremely skilled, because of recent events.
Right.
That way that they practice is not good, because
your first 60 people in a lodge.
Your first pathogen. Here's just even one or two.
Right.
Your first pathogen is your skin.
Yes.
Okay, so now you got this lodge and you built it on the ground. Okay, your wickiup is built like this, and this ground. Did you sanctify it? Did you look at this ground to see what grows there?
Right.
It could be poison oak. We know that one here in Eugene.
Right.
Poison oak grows up, and if that poison oak is growing in there, or that root comes out, and you perform sweat, then you put that into that oleao, that steam, and that steam goes into your skin, and then you get poison oak systemically, and your throat swells shut, and you die.
That's even worse, and you die. Yes.
So don't practice lodge.
Well, certainly,
unless you know.
Who knows where his qualifications come from, and by the way, who charges $5,000 for a sweat lodge?
That's the other thing is medicinal. Is gratis. Used to be
medicine.
Used to be people did this. Okay, you did this, and then the gratuity, was expected. Okay, now you have to say to people, I come and I do this for you. Please pay me. That seems rude and obnoxious to do that way. But because people don't offer what they received anymore, it's just you have to ask.
Well, I also think, one may be so bold as to say this, that people who have had their culture destroyed and they still feel that spiritual hunger, and they're so desperate, so that they'll basically, anyone who says, I've got something,
they become exploited.
So, I mean, that's when, when I first heard about that, I go, okay, who is this guy? And, you go to his website, and he's not claiming any native or ethnic heritage at all, so that is immediately suspicious.
Yeah.
And you build a lodge, because you saw this on the internet, and who said it was okay to have 60 people in a lodge, and then charge them $5,000
each?
Like, okay, well, who does that? I mean,
maybe what's his name, Madoff with it. Okay, so in the doctrine, like Baptist preacher would say, my doctrine. Okay,
right.
We have 5 senses as human beings. We see, we hear, we taste, we feel, we touch. We speak. We have those 5 senses, or base senses. Now, those 5 senses can be used to form any of the other. We've learned that you can speak with your hands. You can hear with your eyes. You can taste with your nose. All of these things, they can interchange. So altogether, they form what we call perception. So this is a 6th sense of perception. Now, if you keep your body clean, your senses clean, they're more accurate, and this perception becomes more acute. So your ability to perceive what is around you becomes heightened. Now, repeated, we form what's called intuition, memory of perception. And that memory is immediate, very fast. So now we have a 7th sense, intuition. This is where your spirit lives. So you practice this lodge to keep your body clean and your senses accurate. Your perception, you stay and you follow all the time. Same method, same practice. These things that you do, that which is before you. That's what you've already done. How your community expects you conduct yourself. How your family expects you conduct yourself. You eat the good food. You eat the things that are good for you to support. You don't paint your body with poisons. And you aspire and bring that in here.
So in those 7 directions, each time you play the flute,
every time.
in every time that you play the flute, in every context that you play the flute, you connect up with each moment that you have played the flute.
Exactly.
So those 7 directions are constantly flowing with you.
And it's the wind. So we have a story. My grandfather, when I sat on the front porch, this is what you asked me. How did I learn to play?
Right.
So I was given to my grandfather when I was 5 years old. There was a big party in my Uncle Dave's house out in the back. They built a big fire, and we danced around the fire for 3 days. I have no idea what the ceremony, what it was about, but I learned later on that I was being adopted into a drum circle, not into a family, but into a drum circle.
Yeah.
And this drum was a big drum, a ceremonial drum, you know, big drum, and that it was going to be my responsibility to change those hides. I had no idea how to change these hides. Does anybody, you know? Or to protect that wood, how to make that wood, you know, how to make that ring. And it's got to be one ring.
Right.
You know, how to do this. That's what I was going to be required to learn. That's what they were going to ask me to learn.
Yeah, the wooden ring that you stretch the drum hide, double-headed.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the hands. See, you don't see these anymore. It's the hands carved like this, and they stand like this, and the handles for the drum stands on this, and then this arm stands on the ground, and that holds the drum. And now behind that comes 4 hoop sticks. Now these hoop sticks stand not for 4 sacred directions. It stands for mother, sister, daughter, and grandmother. Okay? That's women's drum circle. Then there's men's drum circle that stands the same way. And then you have a whipper man and a whipper woman, and it goes on and on and
Some
on.
of these things that they refer to in powwows glancingly, but not necessarily.
Nobody knows. I mean, you'd ask them, ask some of the old ones, what does that mean? You know, why do you do it this way? And they'll tell you, maybe. They'll tell you they won't, maybe. It's hard because it's being lost. So that's why I'm trying to save this flute, because this is what I was taught. You know, this was a medicine that I begged for. When I was 5 years old, I watched my grandfather play music and draw birds, right? Quail and pheasant and partridge, you know, and prairie chickens. Pull them right up onto the porch, you know, and play for them, and they would fall asleep, and then we would have him for dinner. Yeah, right there on the, you know, and just out in the, you know, Kansas, down the home place.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to learn how to play that music that way. So he taught me. He said, well, okay. So he made me a little whistle. It was a little one. And when I began to call and to speak with it, because, yes, these notes, just like a bird, a little quail. Okay, I can make these sounds. Or this bird. I'm calling this bird. So somebody over there hears that. They know who I am, just like that bird knows who that other bird is, and they come together. So the story that he would tell me is Eoen Nuk Iskenu Nete. And this is Kickapoo for I say Kickapoo. Now understand, the United States Cavalry gathered us together. Okay? So it may or may not be, but my family, this story, Misho would say, Misho means grandfather.
Yes.
Or actually it means ancient blood. Misho, ancient blood. Misho
Even
Kwa.
better.
Misho Kwa is ancient blood woman. Or Kwa Misho is woman of ancient blood. So there's a difference.
Yeah.
And you could say Saswa, or you can say Saswa. My wife is laughing now. I hear you. So, would sit on the front porch with my grandfather, you know, little guy, and I'm begging him to teach me to play the flutes, you know, and he's got these wooden jigs and fixtures on the porch where he's been working for years making flutes, because on the reservation when we lived, there was no cash money, you know, and a man of his age and his stature, they're not going to put him to work in the field, although he worked. He was very robust all his life, even to the day that he died. But farmers wouldn't hire him because of insurance, maybe dying, his family would sue, those kinds of things.
Right.
So he worked and he traded things. He made brooms, he made things, all kinds of things. In fact, we had a foundry forge where we would melt and make impellers from non-ferrous metals like brass and
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
We would make impellers for a windmill, you know, and then grind them out and shape them out and sell them, and it was good money. Okay, that's the kind of stuff that we did on the reservation at the home place, making these flutes, because I was given to my grandfather, and my grandmother, my grandfather lived there. They have no income. They can't afford to keep a child. You know, I have to work. I have to make things. I have to even go out into the cornfields and glean, you know, and people don't know what glean means.
Yes, right.
To go out and gather corn and husk it, you know, and
Yeah.
sell that husked corn to, you know, the shelled corn in a 5-gallon bucket up at the granary, you know, and all on foot, you know, that kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff that I did with my grandfather at home. And, you know, I'd get $5 or $6 for a day's work, which was
Good money.
pretty
then.
good money, you know.
Yeah.
When you ain't got no money and you
Right.
don't have nothing to use money for, and there's no 7-Eleven to buy anything.
Well, yeah, and
What are you
it
gonna use
also
it?
in that time, given what it costs to buy stuff, you know,
Yeah.
loaf of bread and you
I
know,
remember a good wage was $3.60 an hour. You know, that was a long time ago.
a long time ago, right?
And 27-cent gas,
Right.
15-cent gas, and nickel cokes. And
Don't get.
where
me
are we
started.
today?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I begged my grandfather to teach me to play. And after he taught me to play, and I began to learn to call and to speak with the flute, these are two very distinct things.
Actions, yes.
Yeah. I asked him to teach me to make the flutes the way that he makes them. So I probably 6, 7, something like that. And I mean, I'm after him all the time, every day. Grandma, you teach me how to do this. Show me how to. Let me watch. Let me look. Let me see. No, Gosema, no. First, you're going to have to learn that all sharps belong to women. What does that mean, Grandpa? What are you talking about? All sharps belong to women. What does that mean? What he's telling me is that the things that affect change, like birth,
Yeah.
these belong to women. Knives, this affects change, belongs to women. It's their, sure, you can use it, but that belongs to her. And you honor her by keeping it sharp. You honor her by giving it a good home. This is the balance between men and women.
Okay. Because the sharp is what you're using to make the flute to begin with,
The
as
sharp.
well as cutting the stone.
Exactly. And this is, now I'm trying to remember my language. It's hard to speak English and then Kickapoo.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this is Ni ete nun. Ni ete nun. Ni ete nun apeke is what this is. Medicine stone. Okay? Medicine stone. This is saki. Ni ete nun apeke. So, soft medicine stone. The reason I know this is because Misho would say to me sometimes when we would walk through the timber and down along the creek beds, and he would say, na ene meka ta ata saki ni ene nun apeke. I am looking for, or I want, some soft medicine stone. And why does he call it medicine stone? Okay? This medicine stone, why is it? Well, if I would have told you, to be telling you this whole story now from where I found his, what I think his birth age, okay? This medicine stone, he practiced medicine. He practiced healing practices. Music practitioner on the reservation. People would pay him with chickens and potluck and vegetables and things. Stones. You know, find a good piece of stone and oh, that's I like that. You know, make this out of it. And then he could make more flutes and trade for this and trade, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not just simple barter. It was something that he can use.
Yeah.
That's significant. That is basically trading. You know.
Well, see now, people think
worth for healing.
People think there's blackstone medicine. Okay, blackstone medicine. That's what this onyx is about. This blackstone medicine. Okay, that's what that's about. Okay, so people they know me and they say, oh, bring you blackstone. That's really good, but you know I can't feed my family blackstone. I can feed my family with a flute.
Right.
But with black stone,
Yeah.
different. I need that material to make things with.
I have to comment here because we've been doing this live, unrehearsed, unscripted. You've been basically
Wandering
using
on.
no, it's fine. Using words from your language, in between English, speaking complete whole sentences, stories, etc. I greeted people at the beginning of the broadcast in young Kalakalapuya, of which, of that language, there's only 141 words left. Okay?
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm so
it's because
sorry.
it's the same phenomenon that, when you were taken from your family, put in a boarding school when they were attempting to destroy your culture, et cetera, you still had the language. You had the language in your head, and you had people that were speaking.
10 years old and
Right.
speaking Kickapoo.
Right.
Or not.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You don't
I'll
have
read your
to
letters.
apologize. You don't have to apologize. You can still speak the language.
I can teach my language.
And you can teach your language.
But I don't
right?
have a degree or a teaching certificate.
Yes, well, right. But you have a degree in survival, survival
yeah.
of the streets or the res or whatever. My point being that you have preserved the culture in a way that it's alive and thriving, despite the attempted genocide.
I'm an acculturalized Indian.
Yes. Well, which means you didn't erase your culture as in assimilation.
No.
You basically maintain your culture,
Yeah.
and also you can basically, still wear the watch and,
These things are given to me by my family. I wear them in honor of my family. These medicine stones are from my family to protect my heart, because I open my heart.
Yeah.
So my family says, black stone medicine, this is introspection. And so when the negative energy, that which would hurt you or gather you or control you, it goes in here. And then I put it in the sun. This one comes from my, excuse me,
It's okay.
my very close friend. We traded this timepiece. We traded the timepiece because I hold time for him and he holds time for me. So these things, I wear them to honor. This is from my heart family. It protects my throat. It protects my speech. That I think of my family first, and I think of my family as you, as what I see is my family. So yeah, I'm acculturalized. I walk around and people look at me and say, look at that old guy. So that's it. So back to this story, these flutes. I begged him to teach me to make them. So the first thing that he said to me, you have to learn what, all sharps belong to women. And so I thought, oh, well, I'll go ask Grandma. I'll go ask Mishokwa, about this. So I went to her and I said, Grandma, I want to learn how to make flutes. And she said, oh, Bosima, you're really young. You're really young. You're just a little guy. But I can see that you got this strong passion for this idea. So she reached into her apron pocket and she pulled out this little bitty knife. It was really small. It had a kind of a tortoise shell on it, and it was silver. And the knife, they had 3 blades inside of it, and each one of them was Solingen German steel. Really nice knife, She gave this to me. She said, go see if go ask the old man how to use this, what this might be. So I took it to him, and he showed me how to sharpen it. He showed me different edges, the different wedges edge, the tapered edge, and what they were used for, and how to use this knife to carve. And then he gave me a cedar broomstick, because he makes cedar broomsticks, about 5 feet long.
Yeah.
And I was asked to first make a pyramid, pyramid shape, tied together with a cube, tied together with a ball, okay, all on the end of the stick, and not so that it breaks off, so that it was solid, so that you could see this in 3 dimension. Then I was asked to make a chain link this way, together, solid, so that it wouldn't so stiff, solid together. And then I was asked to make it loose. And then on the end of that I was asked to make a cube. And inside of the cube was the ball and the pyramid. And when I did that, he said, "It's time now. You can look at my jigs." And so I watched how he made his jigs on the porch, how he made his routes, how he made the routing block, and how he ground the steel and the edges that he put on the steel. And this method that he used to make these flutes, I learned it. And I began making flutes. Well, the first ones were not so good. And the next ones were a little better, but not, gradually I got better. When I was about 9 years old, was my birthday, and that's when he gave me this. He said, "We're going to give you the Nakatosha, and you're going to have the right and the authority to trade these flutes now from our family." You see, you don't have those kinds of rites of passage today. Right. We need them desperately.
Passing on of craft from
anything, whatever it is.
Grandfather to grandson,
whatever it is.
Grandmother to granddaughter. Yes.
In a family, because your mind, in that sea of time, needs that focus point to say, "I did this, and now I'm here, and I've done this," so that you can see what's before you, what's behind you, your community side, your heart side, Mother Earth below you, your aspirations, and that which is within. It creates your being. It makes you whole. It gives you purpose to be here, rather than just chaotic.
Right.
So that's what I do. I try to give people meaning, help them define meaning from chaos. With ceremony. Create ceremony. We can even make authentic Indian artifacts.
Let's hear some more authentic improvisational Indian music.
Let's call it elk. That's a gathering song. I teach people to play this little note first, and then I teach them to play the flute more, how to practice when they're alone, the muscle control of their mouth and their breathing, because that's how to play the flute. You're not learning chromatic scale or notation. You learn how to use this. So you take a mouthful of water and hold it in your mouth, and you spray it out, and you make your lips form a tiny little hole so that there's no splash comes out this way. And you draw a circle on the ground, and you draw a circle of ground over here, and stay in one place, and then you spit from here to there, and stop, and then from here to there, and stop. And no water outside the circle. See? Just a little bit. So then, when you play the flute, that note, like the water, the air becomes rather than see?
Control. Yes.
Control.
Yes.
And then you learn the breathing. You know, you learn the breathing with that. And so the muscle control, and that becomes how to play. And then the rhythm, like I said, is just like tapping your fingers on a table.
How do people start?
Just like that.
Just
You want to
like
learn?
that. We only have...
Not on camera.
Yeah. No. It's just that we have only a few minutes left. So, I think the
really, time gone by so fast.
I know. Tempus fugits. I think more in terms of how do people find their way in terms of the 7 directions in their own directions. You know, because you've shown us one way, which is all the places you've taken us in the last hour are pretty amazing. So I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But in terms
of I borrow that word from Lakota. Metakoyasen. That's all my relatives. This Shwendon Wichin no Samdam and Anami no Samdak. It's pictorial to flow with the purpose and become. Who teaches eagles to build a nest? Who teaches otter to swim on his back and eat the clam? Who teaches a dog to bite? This is spirit. I believe in something. I believe in something. I have the power of belief. It's not what you believe in. It's your ability to believe. And that's being lost.
Okay. But we'll have to leave it there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like what you've seen, let us know at live class at lanecc.edu. Put DiversiTV in the subject line. Tell a friend and let us know what you'd like to see in the future. And stay tuned. So for those of you who are just joining us, welcome. And for those of you who will see us in the future, welcome back. This has been DiversiTV. Go well, stay well.